we've seen betting market odds for a Democratic sweep surge, 10, 15 points over the last month. We've also seen our thematic baskets levered to a Democratic administration start to surge as well. So it does seem like the market's increasingly pricing in Democrats off of concerns that the president is too concerned with foreign policy and not concerned enough with affordability.
From where you sit, and in the cacophony of a presidential press conference, which is its own beast, thank you to all of our team for having Zach Cohen, I thought was brilliant today with Nathan Hager. But is there a cogent energy policy in this nation right now?
I think the energy policy is, produced as much as possible because that is key to national security. And it's not just a U.S. energy policy. I think we're increasingly going to hear about a USMCA energy policy. So USMCA is up for review in July. We anticipate that Mexican energy reforms, which have not been implemented to either the U.S. or Canada's standards, are going to keep those negotiations.
Okay, this is a core question, Damon. We're going right back to the University of Kentucky with Courtney Rosenberger. Courtney, just as simple as I can, why is the price of oil in Texas sort of kind of like the same as the price of oil in Abu Dhabi? Discuss oil as one price.
Yeah, there's been a decent kind of gap between WTI and Brent, which I do think is notable, but I think that goes towards the administration's argument of energy security, where the U.S. is less exposed and less susceptible because we produce so much. Certainly we are kind of at the mercy of global prices, but the U.S. is best positioned in our view out of many of these other countries relying on energy imports.
Courtney, thank you. Thrilled to have you with us today. With Jason Brenner, it's Strategas Research Partners, Courtney Rosenberger Gelman today. I have been waiting in this news flow. It's sort of like really shouldn't be talking about this, but I think it's all really cares about this. Here's the background, folks. Terry Citigroup last month put out a discouraging note of optimism on AI. He said, here's the data Citigroup's seeing with all their different sources, and you see, and you vote on that now, as you saw Google, 10 days ago? Amazon mandates banks for 8-part bond offering in euros. Amazon kicks off 11-part U.S. investment-grade debt. 2468, who do we appreciate? What's it mean, David? To me, it's a huge vote.
It's calling out. For me, this is, and it's interesting that it's good that the issue would be denominated in euro because that's a less liquid market. So what it comes down to is non-price sensitive issuers of IG debt crowding out the rest of the market, and specifically crowding out my emerging market issuers. That's what we're talking about. So when Amazon comes in with a huge benchmark offering like this, clearly it's going to
the bottom line with it is they're going to start with this phone call. That's going to predict that.
That even takes 6 minutes. Bob Shipman would have had these things sold before the year should believe it.
We'll try to get Mr. Shipman on here, folks, but this is King from Wall Street with all of this debate about AI. Amazon mandates banks for 8-part bond offering in euros, 11-part U.S. investment grade debt. We need a news update here 12 minutes from a press conference with our news in New York City.
Thank you very kindly, Tom. President Trump said he would waive oil-related sanctions and have through the Strait of Hormuz, predicting the war with Iran would resolve very soon. Iran has fired more drones and missiles at Israel and Gulf Arab countries. President Trump was asked last night if the U.S. plans to apologize for the bombing at a school for girls in Iran. The strike happened on the first day of the war.
Will the U.S. accept any responsibility?
Well, I haven't seen it, and I will say that the Tomahawk, which is one of the most powerful weapons around, is used by, is sold and used by other countries, you know that. And whether it's Iran, who also has some Tomahawks, I wish they had more, but whether it's Iran or somebody else, the fact that the Tomahawk is very generic, it's sold to other countries, but that's being investigated right now.
Iran says the targeted attack killed dozens of children and their teachers. A couple of political primaries in the Deep South today where voters would choose nominees to represent Mississippi in Congress. And in Georgia, voters will decide who will succeed former Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Bloomberg's Amy Morris reports from Washington.
In Georgia, more than 15 candidates are running in the special election for Representative Green's seat, rated as the most Republican-leaning in Georgia by the Cook Political Report. Most of the contenders are Republicans, but Clay Fuller won President Trump's endorsement. Democrats are looking to retired Army General Sean Harris, who won the nomination in 2024. In Mississippi, Republican Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith faces a primary challenge from physician and novelist Sarah Adlaka. Representative Benny Thompson, the delegation's only Democrat, faces two primary challengers in his bid for an 18th term. In Washington, Amy Morris, Bloomberg Radio.
A super El Nino later this year could bring record heat. The European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasts warns it could be one of the strongest El Ninos in history, fueled by warmer temperatures in the Pacific Ocean near the equator. Global news 24 hours a day and whenever you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Michael Barr, and this is Bloomberg. Tom, Damian, Alexis.
Michael Barr, thanks so much. Bloomberg surveillance this morning is brought to you by Golden Crest Metals. Inflation, tariffs, and volatility as some investors turning to gold for stability. To get a free gold and silver info guide and learn how to add metals to your IRA or 401k tax and penalty free, go to goldencrestmetals.com/guide. That's goldencrestmetals.com/guide. And we thank Golden Crest Metals for their support as well. 9 minutes away, and they're prompt. I mean, General Kane's involved, so there's no delay.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's not like Bill Clinton would be 40 minutes late. No, General Kane's going to be on time. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and of course Secretary Hegseth as well. And again, we've got an overlay of warfare in the last hour off of Stuart Wallace and Onaran's wonderful work with our team in Dubai. Missiles flying here, missiles flying there. The backdrop of this is, as we talked to Courtney Rosenberg moments ago, the Beltway tone, but also now the European tone. An unusual interview with one of our favorite people joining us in studio, Andreas Uderman, chairman of the board of directors at Vontobel, is well. On the back of an envelope, I think of German malaise. I think of these key elections in Paris. A lot's going on in Europe as well. How does Brussels, given the arc of domestic politics in Europe, adapt to a war?
Well, that's a tough question to answer, Tom. By the way, thanks for having me this morning. I think Brussels at the moment is less of a factor here. I think it's the national capitals, as you said, that need to get their act together. And there has definitely been a wake-up call over the past 18 months since President Trump got elected for the second time round. And the Europeans know they need to shape up, but exactly how they're going to do it and how joined up they're going to be, that's still up in the air.
The image of a French aircraft carrier with 7 destroyers around it, I mean, with a submarine sinking of a boat in the Indian Ocean, I mean, what is the symbolism to Europe of the French moving east to the Middle East?
I think that's very significant. I think also the offer by President Macron to make the force de frappe potentially available in forward deployment for allies. I mean, that's a big development that happened, what was it, 2 weeks ago? We've talked about it, but I think we can't talk about it enough. The Germans doubling their defense budget very quickly and moving away from their balanced budget orthodoxy, I think is a big move. Now, all of that's happening right now, but it's not in a joined-up manner, and I think that's what we're waiting for. That's why you asked about Brussels, but Brussels isn't going to be a factor. It's the national capitals and domestic politics that are going to determine that.
I should mention the ship Damien Sassauer, the Charles de Gaulle. I mean,
Yeah,
how
thank
could
you.
there be any other ship named the French fleet?
Markets are clearly reacting to the Middle East conflict, but relative to past events, I mean, the price actually just appears to be, quite muted to me. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. Do you see potential for the current conflict to metastasize into a full-blown VAR shock? And I guess, do you see any risk to the plumbing underneath these financial markets right here?
Of course it could totally spiral out of control. I mean, we don't know, you don't know. I think nobody really knows. The markets are certainly not discounting it. Otherwise, you'd have seen you're quite right, a much stronger reaction downward. It is really surprising that the markets have been so sanguine. I have to say I agree with the biggest risk to the plumbing is the potential hazards in the private credit space.
There we go.
I totally agree.
There we go.
Sorry, I'm being
Right
very
where we wanted to
telling you
go.
what you want to
Just
hear.
seeing you're sweating, deteriorating CLO demand. Come on.
On Dayton Street, he has a countdown clock. Given Iran, given the president, given the press conference, Tom, when are we going to talk about private credit?
Well, let's talk about base principles first, right? I mean, I was having that conversation with a friend of mine the other day and said, look, I grew up a banker, right, in the 80s. You know, I saw how loans are being made to mid and small-sized corporates.
Commercial
I know,
paper.
absolutely. I know how much due diligence went into all of that and why. Because the risk, the capital of the banks are at stake.
That's right.
Right?
Collateral markets, yeah. Funding.
It's real money, right? Now you move this kind of off balance sheet with everything that's happened post Great Financial Crisis, and whose money is now at risk? It's sort of anonymous savers, right? So how do you think the due diligence compares relative to a bank that extends these loans on their own balance sheet?
That's
Well,
right.
it's going to be subpar.
So Andreas,
And
do you
so
think
of course
global
you're gonna store
creditors should be
problems
more
there.
concerned with what's going on in B credit, some of these credit instruments, as opposed to what's going on in the Middle East? I mean, I think that's what you're saying here.
Well, we'll know after the event, but certainly the market should be concerned about that, absolutely.
How large are those shadows? I mean, you guys are way too young to remember this, but I remember going on an October, I think, Thursday with a martini in my hand. Oh, portfolio
As you should.
insurance. What is that? What's the fear that you have now of, it's not pure leverage, is it? What's the unknown of private credit, Andreas?
Well, I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know the unknown unknowns. But what I can tell you is I'm slightly less concerned than I was, and I was concerned in 2007, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the transmission mechanism of this going wrong initially is going to be probably consumers, savers, and not systemically into the banking system.
Yeah.
Now, as you say, there might be unknown unknowns. I mean, you know, one of our competitors in Switzerland had loans on the balance sheet nobody knew about, and so that was an unknown. And who knows what banks have done that nobody knows about? But right now, there's no evidence of that.
You know, one of the big buyers in that market are insurance companies, right? I mean, long duration buyers. And, you know, to me, I mean, I look at insurance, I mean, you know,
And they've done very well.
Yeah,
right?
I
Insurance
think
stock this
so,
year.
so that's what I'm thinking. I mean, and I'm wondering if you have any thoughts there. I mean, demand from insurers for, you know, 30-year paper, for long duration paper has kind of gone down as you moved into the private credit market, right? That's short duration, you know, that's short duration stuff. You know, talk to us about the potential for asset liability mismatching in the insurance industry. I mean, the insurance industry, by the way, Tom, for all our audience listening, is one of the best performing sectors in the S&P this year. So I'm just curious to hear your thoughts there.
Well, as you know, I worked for Airlines for a long time. I was on the asset management side, but clearly they farmed out some of their investments to Allianz Global Investors, the firm I was leading, and PIMCO. And you're right. I think in the 2010s, when interest rates were ultra low, they went ultra long. Now, to my surprise, not entirely surprised though, they did manage that transition extremely well. So they didn't really take the hits that you might have expected as interest rates rose. And so that speaks to their ability to manage risk on their balance sheet. So I've also seen the insurance stocks do really, really well.
Really well.
So that there's no real evidence at the moment that they're not managing this appropriately. So I'm kind of bullish on insurance.
We're 2 or 3 minutes away here, folks, from a press conference. General Kane is always timely, but with some headlines here, I wonder if there'll be a delay. The Pentagon press conference prepares for this press conference. Andreas Everman is chairman of the board of directors of Vanderbilt with us. I want to talk to you about the voice of the elites. I mince no words about this. Lawrence Fink of BlackRock single-handedly saved Davos this year. Larry got upset. He said, we've got to continue this in some form. You know the gossip, the guard. Maybe we go from ECB over to the World Economic Forum. Where's the new voice of the elites moving forward the next 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? Does it need to be reconstructed?
Of course, but I mean that start with the presupposition that you know what actually the elite is. Now that's an interesting question, isn't it? I mean, is the elite political? Is it moneyed? Is it new moneyed, old moneyed? I think the definition applies differently to different countries and different political systems. I mean, you might argue that I think that people will have different views as to what the elite today in the United States is, for example.
But if you kind of asking what's an emerging market, right? What's the difference between an emerging and a developed market? You know, what is
from Harry Kane going from Tottenham to Bayern Munich.
But good for him. He's finally won trophies.
He's winning.
I mean,
But
come
they're
on.
like right now in a renegotiation.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, tell us the response to Harry Kane going there,
Well,
and successfully getting it done.
I'm not a Bayern Munich fan.
I know
can tell
that.
you. I'm an Arsenal and Borussia Dortmund fan. So that we got whooped by Bayern Munich a good couple of weeks ago. No, but Harry Kane did exactly the right thing. I think what would be really interesting
Right.
if Bayern re-signs him and for how long? Because Bayern have a history to basically end contracts in the early 30s of a player. Now, it is true that strikers, particularly the type of striker that Harry Kane is, having longer careers, and certainly longer careers than wingers. So
Right.
let's see. If I'd have to bet, 2-year contract.
Okay, this has been, I'm so sorry it's too short here, but we're waiting for a press conference. We've got to get Alexis in with market reaction. Andres,
Thanks for having me back in May.
Thank you, Andres.
Oh, back in May, good. We'll put it on a calendar. We'll get our team.
You know, Tom, I feel like when you define a lead, it's somebody who graduated from Vanderbilt University and played middle linebacker for the high school. I mean, that would be my definition.
That would be.
Someone who's
How are they doing in March Madness? Is we have
It's not going to be bad, Miami.
Anybody over
University
6
of Miami.
feet? Thank you so much.
Great job,
Chairman of the Board of Directors of Vontable as well. We're waiting for a press conference with the Pentagon momentarily. Let's take a chance here with a Bloomberg Business Flash, of course, from the Interactive Broker Studios. Alexis Christoforous.
And we now have some down arrows for the stock market this morning, reversing an earlier rally, despite the fact that President Trump said the end to the war in Iran is near. We've got S&P futures down 0.2%, Dow futures down about 0.2% or 88 points. NASDAQ futures now down fractionally or down about 34 points. As for oil, it continues its slide after a wild ride yesterday. Brent crude is down more than 6.5%, now at 92.45 a barrel, and WTI crude is down more than 5% at 89.47 the barrel. The Bloomberg Dollar Spot Index is weaker at 1198.67, and Bitcoin on the rise, up 2%. Tom?
Alexis, thank you so much. From Washington, the Secretary of Defense.
You know, as someone who led troops, led soldiers in the streets of Baghdad and Samarra, Iraq, who trained counterinsurgents in Kabul, Afghanistan, and who still carries the weight of others lost to Iranian terrorist proxies, being backed by the same Iranian regime we're confronting now. This fight, Operation Epic Fury, it hits home. Our generation understands this fight. For 47 years, these barbaric savages in the Iranian regime have murdered our brothers in arms, my guys, your guys, our guys, through their terrorist proxies and cowardly attacks. Now they race toward a nuclear bomb to hold the world hostage. The Iranians have targeted and killed thousands of my American brothers. That race to a nuclear bomb, President Trump will never allow it. Not now, not ever, not on our watch. The mullahs are desperate and scrambling. Like the terrorist cowards they are, they fire missiles from schools and hospitals, deliberately targeting innocents, because they know their military is being systematically degraded and annihilated. Iran's neighbors, and in some cases, former allies in the Gulf, they've abandoned them. And their proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas, either broken, ineffective, or on the sidelines. Iran stands alone, and they are badly losing. On day 10 of Operation Epic Fury, we are winning, with an overwhelming and unrelenting focus on our objectives, which are the same as the day I gave my first briefing here on Operation Epic Fury. They're straightforward, and we are executing them with ruthless precision. One, destroy their missile stockpiles, their missile launchers, and their defense industrial base. Missiles and their ability to make them. Two, destroy their navy. And three, deny Iran the underground belt. It's laser-focused maximum 9th day of strikes inside Iran. The most fighters, the most bombers, the most strikes. Intelligence more refined than ever. That's on one hand. The last 24 hours have seen Iran fire the lowest number of missiles they've been capable of firing yet. Just the bifurcation, just the trend lines that we talked about on our first briefing. You see, this is not 2003. This is not endless nation building under those types of quagmires we saw under Bush or Obama. It's not even close. Our generation of soldier will not let that happen again, and nor will this president, who very clearly ran against those kinds of never-ending, nebulously scoped missions. Those days are dead. Instead, we're winning decisively with brutal efficiency, total air dominance, and an unbreakable will to accomplish the president's objectives on our timeline. We stay locked on the target because here at the Department of War, that's our job. Now, the chairman and I, having just returned from Dover last night, our troops and their families and the enormous sacrifice that they make is certainly heavy on my mind. So I'll close with scripture drawing strength from Psalm 144. Blessed be the Lord. God, my fortress, my stronghold and my deliverer, my shield, in whom I take refuge. May the Lord grant unyielding strength and judgment to our warriors, unbreakable protection to them and our homeland, and total victory over those who seek harm. Amen. God bless our troops and this nation.
Welcome to Bloomberg. This is the summary of the Chiefs of Staff, General.
First, let me start with honoring our fallen. As the Secretary said on Saturday and again last night at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, our nation's leaders honored our returning fallen as they arrived home for their final time. Last week I shared a few of the names, and today I want to share the rest. Major Jeffrey O'Brien and Chief Warrant Officer 3 Robert Marzone were the final two fallen to return home and members of the U.S. Army Reserve's 103rd Sustainment Command out of Des Moines, Iowa. Last night, as the news has been reported, we honored the return of Staff Sergeant Benjamin Pennington of the U.S. Army's 1st Space Brigade from Fort Carson, Colorado. When I met Ben's family last night, his mom, his dad, and his sister, they showed me a picture, a drawing that Ben had made when he was in kindergarten. It was clear all the way back then that Ben wanted to do one thing in his life. He wanted to serve his country and be a soldier. Just know how Ben was absolutely a great one. And finally, Major Berkeley Davies, we returned home this weekend after Saturday passing away from a medical condition while on duty in Kuwait. We welcome him home as well. To the families and the families of all of our fallen, we share in your profound grief. The Joint Force remains eternally grateful for your sacrifice and the gift of a great example that your service members have given all of us. I want you to know that their names will never be forgotten, and you and your family are part of our Joint Force family forever. Let me talk a little bit about the progress thus far, acknowledging that Admiral Cooper will likely continue to give updates from CENTCOM. As the Secretary said, we're in the 10th, moving into the 11th day of Operation Epic Fury. The Joint Force remains focused on 3 military objectives: continue to destroy Iranian ballistic missiles and drone capability in order to prevent attacks on the U.S. and others throughout the region. And this means attacking launch sites, command and control nodes, stockpiles before they can threaten our personnel, our facilities, and our partners. Second, we continue to strike the Iranian Navy and their capabilities in order to do things like sustain movement through the Straits of Hormuz. And third, we continue to start working on and going deeper into Iran's military and means servicing production facilities, research and development sites, and infrastructure. Let me turn to the map. We're going to try digital today to prevent laser injury. Since our last update, CENTCOM continues to make progress across the southern flank. To date, they've struck more than 5,000 targets. U.S. Strategic Command bombers recently dropped dozens of 2,000-pound GPS penetrating weapons on deeply buried missile launchers across the southern flank. We also have struck several one-way drone factories to get at the heart of their autonomous capability. And of course, alongside our regional partners along the southern flank, continue to execute intercepts against one-way attack drones using fighters and attack helicopters. Our strikes mean we've made significant progress in reducing the number of missile and drone attacks out of Iran. Ballistic missile attacks continue to trend downward, 90% from where they've started, and one-way attack drones have decreased 80% since the beginning of the operation. A testament to our air defenders and our air defense systems, and as I said, our partners in the region continue to do great work as well. Second, we're making substantial progress towards destroying the Navy. In the first 10 days of the conflict, we're more than 50 Iranian naval ships into the campaign using a combination of artillery, fighters, bombers, and sea-launched missiles. As Admiral Cooper noted last Thursday, we struck and sank an Iranian drone carrier ship, and U.S. CENTCOM continues today to hunt and strike mine-laying vessels and mine storage facilities. This work will continue. Third, against our objectives, we've begun to target Iran's military and industrial complex, again, focusing on centers of gravity to get upstream of the shooters out in the field in order to deny them the ability to continue to generate those one-way attack drones. Let me spend a minute talking about the joint force. Across the area of responsibility, this is gritty and tireless work, and I cannot begin to explain how incredibly proud I am of the courage, tenacity, and grit and professionalism within the joint force. Last time I had a chance to talk about the Army's incredible logisticians who are out there sustaining the fight. Today I want to highlight a few groups of sailors. First, I want to thank the men and women of the Forward Carrier Strike Group and their families, and let all of them know how grateful I am for their leadership and service. The crews on board this strike group have already endured months at sea, only to get their deployment extended. These exceptional Americans, rogered up, all supported by their families, continue to stand the watch, taking the fight to the enemy over and over again, night after night. Aboard ships like the USS Ford and the Abraham Lincoln are a special group of sailors I want to highlight today. These are the men and women, the sailors up on the roof, running operations on the flight deck. With an average age of the early 20s, these are the unsung heroes of naval aviation. These young sailors, known for wearing yellow shirts, are in charge of the catapults, taxiing jets around on the flight deck, shooting jets off the front end, and recovering jets off the back end. They are literally involved with every single movement on the roof on an aircraft carrier. They are the last ones that a naval aviator sees before getting shot off the front end, and the first one that a naval aviator sees after safely trapping on the back end. And just for a minute, imagine you're standing on that aircraft carrier flight deck. There's 30 knots of wind in your face. The deck is slippery, covered in grease. It's noisy. There are propellers spinning. There's jet blast everywhere. The helicopters are running. Your head is on a swivel, and you're trying to direct a multi-million-dollar fighter into a 1-foot square box so that those naval aviators can be shot off into the black of night to go do America's work. Those jets are fully loaded with missiles and bombs, and they are a world-class team combined with the naval aviation and the aviators in those jets. This beautiful symphony of American spirit is the definition of perfectly organized chaos. And these crews do it every single time the carrier is at work. Oh, by the way, in the middle of the night and pouring rain. These are dedicated young people who take the road less traveled to serve their great nation, doing the deeds that we need them to do. America's enlisted force is the pride of every nation's military, certainly ours, and the envy of every other one as well. Each and every one of them out there across the joint force are extraordinary, and in particular today I want to highlight the yellow shirts. Ladies and gentlemen, our work continues. It'll continue to be difficult. I ask every American to keep our deployed force and their families in our thoughts. Combat deployments can be tough on the force and the families, and it's important that we continue to remember that. I remain deeply humbled by the 2.8 million members of the Joint Force, and I'll end where I started, and that's remembering our fallen and their families whose sacrifice will be felt forever. And with that, I'll take some questions.
Good morning across the nation. A press conference, the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Let's listen.
No other country in the world is capable of executing what the chairman just described, day after day, night after night, unrelenting. Well said. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Alexandra Ingersoll, One America News. You talked, Mr. Secretary, you talked at the conference in Florida on Thursday that there was a 90% missile capabilities degradation and 83% drone degradation, and I know the chairman just repeated those numbers. We've seen the most amount of fighting these past 5 days. Is there any update to those percentages? And also, are you able to give any quantification of degradation to the enemy's nuclear capabilities yet?
What those numbers represent is a persistent low ability to respond, which is what we're looking for, right? It's if the enemy can simply wait and then project power, that's problematic. And we've seen some spurts here or there, but ultimately the trend lines, if you look at the charts that we look at every day, have gone like this down to a flat. It doesn't mean they won't be able to project. Doesn't mean our air defenders still don't have to defend. They do, but that is strong evidence of degradation, along with the battle damage assessment that the Joint Staff does, which takes time. You've got to look at imagery. Destroyed, or an underground facility that's been collapsed or completely obliterated. So there's differences in how you evaluate that. But the numbers staying that low is a demonstration of the efficacy for sure. Yeah, Ma'am.
Thanks, Mr. Secretary. There's been reports that the new leader of Iran has been wounded. Do you know if this is true and what his condition is? And then another one, President Trump said he had a really good call with President Putin yesterday. Will Russia be aiding us in this conflict, and can you share anything on that?
Well, the president, as I've said before, maintains strong relationships with world leaders, which creates opportunities and options for us in very dynamic ways. So the president said it was a good call. I was not on it, but those that were said it was a strong call, reaffirming hopefully the opportunity for some peace in Russia and Ukraine, and also a recognition that as it pertains to this conflict, they should not be involved. The first question was?
On the new leader of Iran, there's reports that he's been wounded.
Oh, the new leader of Iran. It would be wise to heed the words of our president, which is to not pursue nuclear weapons and come out and state his status. That's not something I can comment on right now. Yeah, right here.
That's correct. Mr. Secretary, Eric Schmidt with the New York Times. A question for you first. Last week you talked about this being the beginnings of an air campaign that could last 3 to 8 weeks. Can you give us your assessment on where we are now? And Mr. Chairman, in any conflict, the enemy or the adversary adapts to the tactics it faces. Can you talk about the most challenging adaptation the Iranian military has made to the U.S. military? What challenges are you facing most right now? Thank you.
I appreciate the question. Where we are is a very strong place, giving the President of the United States maximum options. And from the beginning, from this podium, we haven't stated how long it will take. Our will is endless. Ultimately, the President gets to determine the end state of those objectives, right? But what he's said continually, and I want the American people to understand, is this is not endless. It's not protracted. We're not allowing mission creep. The President has set a very specific mission to accomplish. And our job is to unrelentingly deliver that. Now, he gets to control the throttle. He's the one deciding, he's the one elected on behalf of the American people when we're achieving those particular objectives. And so it's not for me to posit whether it's the beginning, the middle, or the end. That's his, and he'll continue to communicate that. What we serve him as is we give him updates on a daily basis of exactly where we are, so he can make that determination on the fly. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for the question on adaptation. As you're right, no plan survives first contact with the enemy or Murphy. They're adapting, as are we. Of course, we have very entrepreneurial warfighters out there. I'd rather not, for operational security reasons, tell them what's working. So I'm going to not answer that question based on that. But we are watching what they're doing, and we are adapting faster than they are.
Are they more formidable than you anticipated?
I mean, I think they're fighting, and I respect that, but I don't think they're more formidable than what we thought.
Secretary Arzate, thank you. Jordan Conrad from Gateway Pundit. Axios reported, citing U.S. and Israeli sources, that the U.S. was not happy with strikes on 30 fuel depots in Iran. While this is anonymous sourcing, it seems kind of congruent with what President Trump said yesterday, that there's certain spots they don't want to hit relating to energy infrastructure that will take a long time to rebuild. And whether this reporting is true or not, what's your message to Americans, those who supported the president and those who aren't really in favor of this war, who worry that Israel might be taking advantage of the U.S.'s back? And then for Mr. Chairman, for you, I wanted to ask, when you say that we're moving inland, what capabilities does Iran have to shoot down jets over their land? And would that trigger some kind of rescue operation that could risk a bigger ground operation?
Well, I would just state by saying Israel's been a really strong partner in this effort. Where they have different objectives, they've pursued them. Ultimately, we've stayed focused on ours. But when Iran has felt is the power of the world's two most powerful air forces, in that particular case, those weren't our strikes or that objective, or that wasn't necessarily our objective. But the president has made it clear to those concerns that we're not getting we're leading. The president is leading. He's determining where we want to go, what the outcome will be, what the end state is, with a very keen eye. And I understand those concerns because I've heard from a lot of people who I went through 20 years of those wars myself. Worried about getting dragged in, worried about mission creep, worried about nation building or democracy expansion. That's never the perspective the president has pursued on this. Just because previous presidents and previous secretaries have decided to just pour more resources and more people in toward some unguided end state, doesn't mean that's the way the world needs to look today. In fact, the American people voted for a different approach. But what the president also stated from the beginning was Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. And it's one thing to say it. It's easy to say. Anybody can say that. I mean, Barack Obama said that. What you do after that, it takes courage and resolve. But in that courage and in that resolve, you can also be very scoped in what you're trying to execute to ensure that the sacrifice of Americans, American treasure, American lives, all of those properly meet the objective that you're trying to accomplish. And certainly, as someone I talked up front about what the Iranians have done to our generation, yes, we're clear-eyed about it. But my job is to keep it scoped, given the directive of the president to accomplish the mission.
Thank you for the question. Most of their higher-end surface-to-air missile systems are not factors at this point in time. We're able to move around fighters that are moving deeper with relative impunity. Always some risk out there. I don't want to say that there isn't. And we'll always maintain and retain capability of doing search and rescue type of things, but I don't want to get into the details. But thanks for the question.
Thanks, Mr. Secretary. President Trump told our team on the ground early this morning that the thing that has surprised him the most during the course of this operation so far has been the Iranian regime attacking countries that are not attacking them. I'm curious if that surprised you as well. And General, curious if you are open to the possibility of escorting vessels to the Strait of Hormuz, and if you could describe some of the challenges of doing so.
Big mistake by the Iranian regime to start targeting its neighbors right away, exposing who they are and what they're all about, indiscriminate targeting, flailing recklessly at the beginning. I can't say that we anticipated necessarily that's exactly how they would react, but we knew it was a possibility. And I think it was a demonstration of the desperation of that regime then and that regime now, that they still think their pathway out is to try to alienate their Arab partners even more, who've instead decided to come to us and have been willing to go on the offense, have been giving us access, spacing, and overflight in a new partnership that will continue to remake the region the way that President Trump did with the Abraham Accords. So you're pushing those countries in our direction to support this effort, further alienating Iran. And I think it's worth underscoring. I see in the media banners that say war expanding or war spread. It's actually the opposite. It's actually quite contained, and more of those countries are coming on side, recognizing that you can't live under a conventional umbrella with nuclear ambitions with a radical regime like that. Again, properly scoping the objectives in the process. And then you want to talk about the Strait?
Sure. On the potential, if tasked to escort, we'll look at the range of options to set the military conditions to be able to do that. And then, like we always do with every potential mission, come to the Secretary and the President with both what are the resources required, what is the command and control required, and what are the risks, and how do we mitigate those risks. So we're looking at a range of options there, and we'll figure out how to solve problems as they come to us.
But I would reiterate also to add what the chairman said, the truth the president posted last night about that, saying if Iran does anything to stop the flow of oil within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit by the United States of America 20 times harder than they have been hit thus far. He goes on to say death, fire, and fury will rain upon them. You've seen the truth and read it. But he takes very seriously the condition of that straits. We have capabilities that no other nation on earth has. We're certainly working with our energy partners across the administration to control for that. That's part of that scoping.
Glory Day pre-market phase today is about structure, not prediction. Mark SPX and XPS high low swap and liquidity.
To achieve here, scoped properly, and the American people can count on that for sure.
Thank you so much, Secretary Hegseth. President Trump has long said that he wants to minimize the loss of life in war, which wherever it occurs in whatever country, which so many people obviously appreciate. Can you detail the specific measures the Pentagon is taking to minimize civilian casualties and strikes inside Iran? And secondarily, is the Pentagon prioritizing replenishment of precision-guided munitions?
All right, we'll be getting started shortly. I am updating our thread, our text thread. Got a couple new people and want to send the link and the notes, link and trading notes. And then we'll get started with the pre-market broadcast. A little behind this morning. First of all, let me change the background from Bloomberg to, how about some two cellos? Get some, good music. There we go. Okay, now let's get our notes. All right, I'm sending out the Smart Money cheat sheet. Okay, I got the cheat sheet out. The cheat sheet is our guide to market structure. That's what we're learning. That's what I'm teaching is market structure. What is market structure? Market structure is what we're looking at on the screen, this candlesticks. This is market structure right here. This tells the whole story. When I look at it, I see money. Each candlestick tells the story of a buyer and a seller. Let me try to fix my screen. This is like too wide. And we'll get into the charts in just a second. Well, I'm gonna leave that alone. I don't wanna get caught up fiddle-faddling with that. That's wild. That is wild though. Let me see if I can fix that. Let's go watch list. Oh, that one's better. Oops. There we go. We'll take it. Okay, so that's market structure. That is what we're going to base our strategy on, and that's what I'm going to share with you is my knowledge of market structure. But before we do, I want to give praise and thanks to God. And based on yesterday's outcome, which I'll share with you shortly, Luke chapter 6:10 comes to mind. Whoever can be trusted with small things can also be trusted with big things. And yesterday, well, before I do, I have to read you the disclaimer. Give me a moment. Okay, I should know it by heart, but I'm sharing this for informational purposes only. It is my own proprietary system as a result of my own research, and it's a strategy that I use in my own real account. While it's a principle-based strategy, the strategy is subject to change. By sharing my trading activities, it is not a solicitation for me to buy or sell securities for others. Trading involves risk with possible loss of principal. Sharing my live trading sessions should not be construed as investment advice. It is these are strategies that I've developed and work when disciplined. Okay, so that's where we're gonna start. Today is just a recap of yesterday. I had 2 losing trades. That's right. I'm going to be open and transparent with that. And I'm going to take you to what happened real quick. There's a lesson learned. I learned from every loss. And this is going to be an important one. Okay, so let me change the time frame. We're going to go to a 5-minute time frame down here. And this is the way the day ended. I want to, first of all, take you to here, okay? You can see those big green candles. Price went parabolic and shot up about, I'm just going to round up and say almost 100 points in a matter of like 5-10 minutes, it seems like. Well, let's see. It started, there we go. It started at 12 and ended at 1. So in that last hour, price went parabolic. Excuse me. Grab something to drink real quick. Price went parabolic. Okay. Let's go back a little bit. As you can see, it was pretty calm. It was a bullish market. I'll take you back here, right here. We can see when the market changed bias. So when it's below the VWAP line, this pink line, it's bearish. When it comes to the VWAP line, the pink line, you can see on the 5-minute candle, we got 1 and we have 2. That's confirming that the bias of the market has now flipped to bullish. Okay, so that's that's about when I got in the trade, when it became bullish. So I set my puts down here. I can draw a line. I set my puts down there, which is basically the bottom. Okay, we're just gonna call it the bottom. I'll place the bottom of my trade down there. I'm just trying to change the color. Okay, there we go. And I put the top of my trade, my calls, because the iron condor is the strategy we use. So I'll refer to it as the calls, are in this particular case, got some rookies out there, I'll just say the top, because the iron condor is a range-based strategy. So there. All right. So stayed in the trade. So as you can see, it went up. Then it came down to here. Let's close that. It came down to here. All right, so when it came there, it hit 40%. 40%. That was excellent time to exit the trade with a 40% profit. What did I do? I targeted 60%, trying to get 20% more. Price hit the VWAP, started grinding up, and then went parabolic beyond my line. So my gold line at the top is the top of my put. So I lost the trade. It breached my top line. The prime time to exit was 40%. As most of you know, I believe in a 25% exit, 30% exit. So I had already stretched that to 40, and greed entered, and I held on and looking for 60. Trade went against me. That is the ultimate hurt when you have a profitable trade and it turns against you. I just felt like, oh, wow, I just violated all my principles. I lack the discipline that I teach of a professional trader. And, you know, it's like I rebuke that spirit of greed by the authority given to me in the name of Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. I am rebuking that spirit of greed and casting it. So let that be a lesson. We stick to 25, 30%. We exit the trade. Yeah, I could have stretched it out to 40%, but as a rule, 30% is max. Exit the trade. These trades are designed to produce 25 to 30% every day. We can get that. We just have to come close. We don't have to be exact to get 25 to 30%. We need to go in the right direction. And that's what I'm teaching is the VWAP line teaches us to go in the right direction. It allows us to go in the right direction. I knew when it was bearish, and I knew when it had flipped to bullish. And how did I know? Well, I'm going to teach about the different targets that the institutions have every day. And that's what we can expect by tuning in from the Smart Money broadcast. However, I do want to go over the second trade of the day, which I also lost. And I made a classic mistake of going against the market. What do I mean by that? My trade, I did a call credit spread. So with the spreads, the call credit spread means that it's gonna go down. All right, so here we have a bullish market, and I place my call credit spread at I know, like you may not know what I'm talking about, but you will learn. And this is like day one for some of you, and I am sharing with you like two important things. One, exit 25% profit. You'll be a highly profitable trader. I am trying to move this line. Oh, there we go. And about right there. Okay, so I saw that, okay, VWAP's been claimed. We're in a bullish market. I put my call right here on top when price was at 12 o'clock, it was here. So price was there, right where the crosshairs are. And I placed it above the VWAP, assuming that price was gonna stay on the VWAP. All right. But here's the thing. It's a bullish market. That means price is subject to go up. And in addition to that, I had done an analysis which told me that there were contracts above at 67.50. If you notice, the VWAP's at 67.29. And I did some research, discovered that there were contracts at 67.50. That means orders. That means that the price could go there and get sales. The market's set up on supply and demand, so there was a demand there at 67.50. And so with a bullish market, contract sitting at 67.50 here, right there, of course, that's where it's going to go. And not only did it go to 67.50, but there's a round number of 68 is a magnet. And so once it hit 67.50, you can see with the big candles, it went to 6,800. Liquidity is always at 6,800, 6,700, 6,600. There's always orders there. Okay, so prices, when it's in range, it will target the hundreds. It will. That'll make more sense the more you tune in. Okay, so that was the recap of yesterday. We left off talking about, we talked about strike placement, we talked about exit, profit taking, talked a little bit about risk management. All right. So what I want to do is elaborate a little bit on the exits, because we're always wondering how long should we hold our positions, and should we hold out for more percentage? Well, I don't really elaborate that much because we should target 25%, 30% maximum. So that is risk management. That is like, we shouldn't discuss, max loss, because I'm not teaching that style of trading. I don't want to be that type of trader, so I don't promote holding trades beyond 25, 30%. I'm going to keep saying that because it eventually helps me become more disciplined. If you want more profits, you buy more contracts, but you still exit at 25, 30% max. And how do you know this? Well, what I should have known, because I know this from experience, is that when you're in your trade and it approaches a resistance level, or a support level in this case, such as the VWAP line, there is a possibility that the trade will reverse. Okay, it may change direction. That is a point that can cause, and in this case, did cause the trade to go in the opposite direction of what I wanted it to go in. I wanted it to go down to what I wanted, right? The market does what it does. Like, we don't control the market. We base our decisions on probabilities. Okay, so there are probabilities that the Smart Money cheat sheet roadmap that I sent in the text thread will generate through higher agency. We're able to take a screenshot of this screen right here, put it in ChatGPT, and come up with a roadmap. And the AI will break down, along with a few other things that I use, barchart.com. I look at the VIX also to determine sentiment of the public, of the investors. There's a number that reflects whether or not retail investors will be participating strongly in the market or weak. Are they fearful, or are they confident, in the economy, in their disposable income? The VIX measures those things. And so with barchart.com, it shows me resistance levels, which means how high the price could go, or support levels, how low the price could go. When price gets to a support level, it could bounce off that support level and trend upward. As you can see over here, what happened is price went below the VWAP line. I know you don't see anything at 66.35. However, that was a support level. If I crunch in, keep crunching. Oh, stopped crunching on me. Let's go to the month here. Whoa, don't want to do that one, sorry. Back to the week. Nope. Keep it on the day. Oh, ew. It's getting uglier and uglier. So, if you look at my line, 67, not the pink one, look at the gold one right here. You can see that's our support zone. So you can see that, well, price hasn't been that low in quite a while. However, when you look to the left, there are support levels, a couple support levels down there. There's one way over there. Okay, so that you don't have to go back that far because the AI will generate the support level for us. So we have, the data available in AI version. We do have to keep a careful eye on AI. Like, it does make mistakes. However, if the highs and the lows, if the numbers match up to your report, then chances are it's accurate. I also cross-reference with barchart.com in terms of support and resistance levels. So that is a good resource to check key levels. Let me see. I've never brought it up, but let me see if I can do that. I don't have my keyboard, and this isn't working. I'll have to give you a demo of that one some other time. Brought up Robinhood. We don't want that. We're not working from there today. Now let's get back to this one. Okay, but my point was support and resistance levels. Okay, so here, for example, let me clean this up. I'll give you one example. Okay, that's clean enough. The gold line, this gold line, right? Let's take a look at this right here. Okay, so right where my crosshairs are wiggling would be a support level. Now, if I were looking at this and price was here at this level right here, and it started to come up, I would exit the trade most likely, or be thinking about exiting, getting out of the trade, because when price gets to this level, which is 67.53, it's over here wiggling. When it gets to that level, there stands a chance. It didn't in this case, but it stands a chance when it gets to this level, it's going to be rejected and go down. So if I were in a trade and I was, my position was that price was going to go up, and let's say I had 25%, 30%, when it gets here, I should exit the trade with profit, because there's a probability and a chance that price will get to this level and reverse. It'll be rejected. It'll bounce down. It'll go down. Like, I'm trying to emphasize that there is a high probability, or a chance, we'll just say, that price will go down, even though that there's liquidity up here. So even though you'll begin to understand that there's always a target. price always has a target. The institutions move the price. So we need to adjust our mindset to understand that it's manipulation and the prices are being manipulated to go where the supply and demand is. Okay, you get it? It's the market structure price movement is based on supply and demand. It's not random retail buyers that just show up and, the price starts moving. That's not how this works. It moves based on the institutions, and they have algorithms, and they've got technology, and they have the means to manipulate price and go where the most orders are, contracts, the most trying to emphasize that they're taking price. And how do you know? Well, there's a lot of ways to know. But what we're doing is we're looking at what's called open interest. We'll get into that study as we get into the actual trades. Because in the options chain, let's see if I can go trade. Trade. Let's trade something. Oh, not appropriate. Let's see if we can go in here. Chart. Oh, options. Let's go options. Okay. Looks like we can take a look at open. Oh, geez. It's not set up. I haven't traded out of this account in a bit. Oh, here we go. Open interest right there. Boom. Done. Okay, so now we have the open interest column. Okay, so over here under open interest, we're going to take a look and see where the highest number of contracts are. Looks like on the put side, you see that? Puts.
The American stock
market
is up, with the S&P 500 up 0.8%, the NASDAQ Composite Index up 1.4%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average up 0.5%. SPX and SPY update.
Okay, that was my morning announcement. But here we are. As you can see, the highest number of contracts is 53,117. Okay? So price is going to go there. Let's take a look at the call side. I need to open up, there, more levels here. $67.95. Then I see $67.50. What happens when I do that? I get the range, okay, that's pretty cool. But that's, okay, so that's a place where price is subject to go. So now we're talking probabilities. Now we're going to look at the call side. So when we look at the put side, that's saying price is going to go down. So we've got, 53,000, I'm going to round 53,000 people, or we'll call them contracts, okay? We've got 53,000 contracts sitting over on the put side saying price is going to go down. So the institutions will manipulate price to go there and absorb the contracts. And I'm going to translate that to liquidity. Okay, so on the call side, I'm seeing 17,000. Okay, so on the call side, so there's more people saying the price is going to go down than up. So So on the call side, I'm seeing 17,901 contracts at 67.50. So I will make a note of that and continue to do my technical analysis. That's what this is. This is technical analysis, and I am using open interest to help gauge price movement. Okay, so this isn't like some people think betting or gambling. I'll call it a game of probabilities. And we have certain, we can collect certain data to help us formulate a thesis of why we believe price is going to go in a particular direction or to a particular level or price. So with that being said, here is the plan for the rest of my day. I am going to do the opening, quarter 1, and then I am tuning out at 8 o'clock. And even between the opening at 6:30 and 8 o'clock, I'll be taking breaks to get ready for the rest of my day, which involves training today. I've got pretty extensive training. So I try to, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, ride into the first trade of the day with you. I may or may not be available to assist with the closeout. So I will advise setting the limit order at 25 to 30%. 30%'s right in the middle of 25 and 40. So I'll go 30% on the closeout and set that limit order so it's automated, takes the emotions out of it, takes the psychology out of it, takes all the guesswork out of it. Less likely to have a trade turn against you if you just set it at 25%. I didn't do that yesterday because it's a new platform, and I don't believe, or I haven't discovered how you can set 25% on the mobile app. And I wasn't at the desktop. So that could be a limiting factor when I'm using this particular platform, Tradier. I do like the platform. It's very simple to use. However, I am running into some issues that hopefully I figure out quick. But that is how you would execute a trade and have a 9 to 5 at the same time. Is you wait for the A+ setup. That means you know the bias, the direction. That means your strike placement is precise, not in a supply and demand zone primarily. Just don't put your strike price when you know there's 53,000 contracts. Don't place it at 6,800. As I said already, the hundreds, the zeros are the magnets. So, I mean, that's giving you an edge right there, is you always place your trade outside of a zero, outside the zeros on the calls and the puts. That's an edge right there. But in addition to that, if you're not managing your trade, then you just set it at 25%. And what I mean is you're not sitting at your charts and actually actively managing the trade. You set your auto close and you place your strikes outside of those zones. And then you can actually walk away with good conscience. You know, you don't have to worry, you don't have to panic, you don't have to be emotional, you don't have to, you know, well, oh my God, you know, what if this? Oh, is that going to go there? Or, you know, you just get to eliminate all that and you get to stay cool. You know, I'm looking for just cool trades. I've already had my days of, you know, praying and you know, you should always pray, don't get me wrong, but not out of like panic or I'm about to lose money, you know, and this, that, and the other. It's like, just stay calm and take your 25, 30% and don't put your strike prices near the 53. I would go 10 to 15 points away from there, or it's referred to as points, but you know, it's actually dollars, but we call it points. So I would, you know, if I see that, you know, I'm going to go like as far away from there as I possibly can, right? Why would I do that? You know, that's just giving money to that. Well, I mean, that could be a strategy. I mean, you know, price is going to go in that direction and you're going to exit the trade before it even gets there. And that's solid. You know, if you have, I mean, if that's your thesis, however, it could get there faster than you think, you know. So you really have to look at your support resistance levels to see how long it's going to take to get there. There's ways to figure that out too, which we'll get into, such as the average true range. We can calculate in minutes how long it's going to take to get there, possibly, probably, you know, depending on the resistance and support levels. Anyway, I ran off on that, but I just wanted to show you open interest. With that being said, my day is going to be kind of in and out. We'll hopefully take a look at the opening bell, and I'll be back definitely, and I will live stream at 11:30, provided no obstructions take place for the 12 to 1 trade. That's typically a good trade as long as we stay with the bias. Yeah, and have wider wings on the condors. It's typically a good play. So with that being said, I don't think there's anything. Yeah. So I'll be back for the 11:30 preparation for the 12 to 1 trade. If anyone's tuned in, go ahead, send me a text, personal text, not on the thread. Let me know that you're tuned in, and we will do our technical analysis together on that, and we'll see what transpires. We'll see if there's an A+ setup. Usually, I will tell you that I was thinking of directional trade, you know, a put credit spread or a call credit spread rather than a condor. However, you know, condor, yeah, I mean, it would be feasible. It would be feasible to do a condor. One side would just be more profitable than the other, or maybe not, you know, depending on the width. And if it's a broken wing condor, which tends to get close on one side and loose on the other side. So the wingspan changes a bit. It's a bit imbalanced. But anyway, with that being said, that's our timeline and our schedule for today. And I think I'm going to take a coffee break and get ready for market open. All right, so be back. One more thing is we're going to hold off on taking those screenshots for the new people. What we do is we've been taking screenshots of the ES futures, which is the predictor. It's like the forerunner of the SPX. And because it's live right now, you see the prices are moving. We've got some VWAP action. It's underneath the VWAP, but not really confirmed that the VWAP is not going to be reclaimed. See how the candles are like right there at the VWAP? Well, that they may as well be on the VWAP until we get the close of 2 5-minute candles. We're going to start doing the 2 5-minute candle. Beneath it needs to be red, or 2 5-minute candles above it, clearly above it, needs to be green. That's reclaim or rejection of the VWAP. So anyway, the way it works is we take a screenshot of the ES futures, and then we take a screenshot of the SPX. Let's go to... yeah, let's do that. Let's get off of that. Let's go. What am I doing? Trying to get off the chart. Need to work on my skills. My bad. I'm trying to show you what we take a screenshot of, and I'm doing a terrible job. Home market. Nope. Watch list is the way to go. How do I even get on charts? Oh, there we go. Said charts right there. All right, so we take a screenshot of the ES Futures 500, and we take a screenshot of the SPX, and we take a screenshot of the notes that I sent in the thread, and we put it all together in our AI. I use ChatGPT, and it will generate your smart money roadmap, and we can analyze it. Once the market is open, it'll generate it. I PDF it, I print it, and I highlight it and make notes on it. I advise you to do the same, and we'll be able to review it together, and it'll turn into a thesis in our study. So makes me feel pretty intelligent. Okay, so anyway, I'm actually even gonna get rid of this line. It's an oldie. Delete. Okay. Oh, and one more thing that I want to point out before I take this coffee break is if you take a look at this, everything on the left will be filled in by the right. Right now, there is no story to the right side. I know it goes from left to right. I get it. But the right side is going to be the story of the day. Like we saw yesterday, the right side was completely blank, right? It started like from, where did it even start from? Week? No, we'll go day. March 9th right there. And our time frame, we'll go 5 minutes right there. And so all that was mostly just the left side over here. The right side filled in completely to level out with what was on the right, okay? And so what I'm saying is what we see here will most likely fill in. See those big green candles? We call that a fair value gap. There's a lot of gaps over there. So prices, well, we'll wait till market open, but probably we'll off the top fill that in. However, we'll see. We don't predict, we react. We let the market tell us what the story's going to be. And we trade with the institutions, not against. We don't go against the market. It always wins. Okay. So with that being said,